So thank you again. Welcome everyone to Contracting for Disaster Recovery here in North Carolina for Hurricane Helene. I'm going to also turn off my video and we're going to get started. So I'm going to take regular breaks to drink because there's a lot of information that I'll be covering. Drink water, of course. All right. Thank you for registering and attending this webinar. The original training topic for today was SAM registration and the DSBS optimization. We will include those topics on our next webinar, which is October 16. I will provide information on how to register for that. We're going to pivot today to discuss contracting during the disaster, especially since we've been hit with Hurricane Helene. My name is Jackie Spearman. I am the director of the North Carolina's SBTDC, which is a Small Business Technology Development Center specialty program called GCAP. GCAP is our Government Contracting Assistance Program. On our call today, I have my staff who will be available to answer questions and monitor admitting people in. We also have some members of the North Carolina SBA on the call and some of our North Carolina Military Business Center folks on the call. So they are welcome to help me out and answer questions in the chat if they like. We have a lot to cover, and I want to make sure that we leave enough time to answer questions at the end. This webinar is being recorded, so give us time while our communications team is inundated with lots of requests right now. So we'll try to get this up before the end of the week if possible. But in the meantime, slides will be available. Just make sure that you complete the link at the end, because not only will we be sending out slides, we'll send out a couple of other things with it. In order to make this more manageable, please mute yourselves and go ahead and turn off your cameras. So for those that are joining us from other states, I will provide relevant information that will be applicable to you and will be you'll be able to use it in your own state also. Thank you again for joining us. Let's go ahead and get started. So before we dive into the details, let's take a moment to go over what we'll be discussing today. So we'll be discussing the recovery status update, where I'll share some of the current state of our disaster recovery efforts in North Carolina and what's been happening. We'll talk about registering for disaster contracts, the essential steps. We'll talk about finding disaster-related contracts and how you should be preparing for your contracting role in that recovery and what is expected from you. We will stop at the end of the recording and we will go ahead and talk about questions and answers. And just to double check, I want to make sure that I am recording. Yes, we are. Okay. All right. So just to give you an update, currently, and this has even changed since last night. Right now, we had like 400 National Guard personnel deployed as of yesterday. Now it's like 500. There's a lot of things going on. Some of the roads are opening up, but not for traffic. Please mute yourself. I'm going to ask you to please mute yourself. Thank you. All right. Appreciate it. We're going to, all right, there we go. So back to the information. So this is happening across the state. You know, there's a lot of things going on. So we're getting a lot of requests to ask about, well, how do I help out? Please keep in mind that currently North Carolina is in the response stage. That means we're identifying who still needs to be found. There are over 600 people still not accounted for. 80 people have lost their lives so far that we've been able to tally up that the state has been able to identify. So please keep in mind while we're going through all this, you know, to be thoughtful about asking questions and considering how you can assist. All this information is already on the website for readync.gov. This is about, you know, if you know anyone that needs assistance, FEMA or state resources, they can go to the website and get the contacts for shelters, volunteer opportunities. Please do not travel to Western North Carolina at this moment, as roads are still unstable and not usable. So please be mindful of that. All right, so first we have state and local agencies that are part of the landscape. So these agencies are going to include your emergency management, your transportation department. They're the first responders on the ground managing the immediate recovery needs and contracting for services like debris removal and infrastructure repair. When we're also going to talk about like the federal agencies, those include FEMA and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. These organizations are going to handle larger long-term recovery efforts, often involving extensive contracts for rebuilding. We're not there yet. Remember, we are still in response. And finally, there are the contractors. That's you. Your role as a contractor is critical, whether it's providing essential services like the construction, supplies, or specialized expertise. So navigating that contracting process can be difficult. So, and it can be challenging. So we're going to walk through a lot of that. And throughout the presentation, we'll explore how you can effectively position yourself so that you can work within this recovery effort. Please note that we, again, are still in the response mode in North Carolina. Who are the agencies that are working right now? So there is a multitude of offices and agencies involved with a disaster like Helene. We're going to focus on a few of the top ones for our states, which are the NCDOT and the North Carolina Department of Public Safety's emergency management offices. Please note that if you're looking for more information on another state, you will just need to go to Google and search for that state's emergency management. Remember, you have South Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee, and Florida that have been affected by Helene. So you want to definitely go and look up the information that they have on their website. Now, before you start with anything, if you're not registered as a vendor in the state that you're trying to do work in, you cannot go any further. Please do that. In North Carolina, we have an EVP, which is our electronic vendor portal. Like I said, all these slides will be available and you'll be able to link and go and get registered. If you're already registered, you need to be searching the solicitations that are available on the website. I've also included some links for South Carolina, Florida, and Georgia. I need to put Tennessee on there. Be sure your registration is up to date to access the current disaster-related contracts. They have not been put up yet, so this is a great time for you to start getting ready. The North Carolina EVP allows vendors to access procurement solicitations for state agencies, community colleges, the universities, public school systems. You can search by keyword or filter by category, and it's a searchable database even after the bid date. If you are not registered as a vendor in the state that you're looking to perform in, there's no way around it. So that has to be done. So let's talk about North Carolina NCDOT. This summer in August, we had a disaster recovery summit in Greenville, and they presented a lot of the information. So what I'm sharing to you is things that they've already given to us to share. I want to cover it so that you have knowledge of how it's working right now, so that you can move forward and make decisions for yourself on how to participate in the recovery efforts. So NCDOT is playing a crucial role in disaster recovery. They're restoring and maintaining the infrastructure right now. As I mentioned, they're out there already. So let's break down what the key areas NCDOT does during their phases of recovery. The cut shove operations. This involves that rapid removal of the debris, the trees, weeds, all of that out of the roadways, the mud, to ensure that the emergency responders and supply chains can access those affected areas. So as I mentioned, do not travel to Western North Carolina right now. A lot of the roads are still trying to be opened up. So after a disaster, NCDOT's primary goal is to make those roads passable for fire, medical, and recovery teams. They push the debris off the road temporarily to restore access. They also do infrastructure stabilization, which is following a disaster. Some of the roads may be washed out or damaged, which is obvious in the western part of the state. So in these cases, those immediate repairs aren't possible and they have to create detours. So, and the next thing that we're going to do is maybe the permanent repairs. These are the measures that are that they're putting in place to replace the culverts, the bridges, the pavement. And so some of these projects, they're going to require contractor bids for larger long-term repairs. Keep that in mind. Now, the debris removal is happening right now. And so how do they do it? So a couple ways that they do is local purchase order contracts, POCs. These are those smaller short-term contracts. They're used in the urgent needs, such as quickly procuring supplies or equipment. So you'll have that right now going on with companies that are currently helping clear out the roads. Then they also use the fully operated equipment rental agreements. These are those contracts that are renting equipment. They're along with operators. They need someone to operate the equipment. So example, bulldozers, cranes, skilled personnel that can handle those emergency tasks. They're also doing this type of work through disaster recovery professional limited services contracts. That's a mouthful. So they do this in damage assessments and debris monitoring. So these specialized contracts, they're going to focus on professional services. There's structural engineering, environmental assessments, and even project management. So if that's services that you provide, that's something you want to look at too. Working with the NCDOT. Now, if you're interested in working with the NCDOT, there are some key steps you have to do. First, you want to carefully review the instructions on the pre-qualification process. That link is going to be provided to you. Next is to complete the pre-qualification application. That step ensures that you are registered and eligible to bid on NCDOT projects. And so let's be clear, if you're not pre-qualified, you will not be able to bid on these contracts. That does not mean that you will not be able to participate as a subcontractor. But so a lot of the companies that are out there performing right now at this time, they've already been pre-qualified. So if you've not done that, you have to get that done now. You can explore opportunities through that hurricane response letting site. They actually have a site. Now, here are the areas of the divisions that you want to pay attention to. On the site, there is a link that provides you with the contact details for divisions 11, 12, 13, and 14. I'm spelling this out even though they're on the website because we have some people and on the screen because we have some people calling in. So I want them to remember that. 11, 12, 13, and 14. These are the areas that you want to contact if you are pre-qualified and see if there's opportunities for you to bid. There is a need for, you have to, in order to bid, you have to have insurance. You have to have payment and performance bonds. Currently, they're looking for hauling, traffic control, tree removal, landscaping, clearing, debris removal, demolition, cut and shove, and some pipe installations, and that can include some bridge repair. So if you perform that and you are not pre-qualified, you need to get pre-qualified now before those opportunities start coming out on the larger scale. So these opportunities are not up yet. That right now, whatever is happening is based on the response phase that we're in. So the North Carolina Emergency Management, they provide disaster preparedness, response, and recovery. Please mute yourselves. Thank you. Those agencies are they're there to enhance the resilience of all our programs and during the emergencies. So there are key groups that they work across the state with. Those are the State Emergency Response Team, which they direct them and manage the emergency operations across the state. Why is that important? You need to know based on what you provide and what you offer that you want, who do you need to be connecting with? There is the Business Emergency Operations Centers. They are the liaison between the North Carolina Emergency Management and the private sector. So they coordinate donations, assets, and resources during emergencies. They also, oops, went too fast. Sorry about that. The community emergency response team, those are, our local responders, our communities. Key thing you need to know that if you are providing the type of work that they need, and I will go through that in a second, is the reentry registration. If you are located in that area and you need to travel from your home to your business and it is in those areas, you do not need the reentry registration. However, if you are coming from outside of it, you do need to register in order to have authority to come into that the areas that need recovery. There is also a voluntary agency liaison. There's that works with the American Red Cross. These offices and programs make sure that the NCEM is equipped and able to coordinate the activities across the state. What is purchased? So this is a quick snapshot of what is purchased by the NCEM. We will be providing the full list after when we send the slides. So the PDF list will be available. This Division of Emergency Management Logistics section. This plays a critical role in ensuring that the necessary supplies, the equipment, and personnel are available and deployed during disaster recovery efforts. Scott Higginbotham is the Assistant Director of Logistics, and he may be the key contact in this section. If you have any questions or any further information about logistics operation, you can feel free to reach out to him by email. Please don't inundate the phones right now because they're not even working. The logistics sections ensures the smooth operation across the state. So you'll see here, they buy batteries, bed linens, bleach, box fans, all these things that basically are their commodities. So if those are things that your company already supplies, this is an opportunity for you. Now, I will be remiss without mentioning certifications and registrations in the state. If you are historically a HUB certified company or a SVE company, you also have the opportunity to look at the HUB solicitations that they have. They actually have a link on there that goes with disaster related contracts. So you can go to their website. So these certifications are specifically tied to disaster contracting, but they offer key access through the state procurement system. So if you need more information, there it is as far as, and again, this information will be provided on the slides. All right. Now, let's start with one of the most critical steps. So going back to the state, before we go into the federal, we are in the state response stage right now. So keep in mind that a lot of the opportunities will start to come out soon based on assessments, because we haven't gotten to that phase. They need to still respond. That assessment will then decide, okay, now let's rebuild. The work you're going to do right now is going to get you prepared in order to be eligible for those opportunities that come out on rebuilding. So before we go into the federal government, there's key things that you need to consider. It's SAM. So SAM.gov is that official website where all the vendors must register to do business with the U.S. government. The registration is free and it's absolutely required, no matter what. If you want to do work with FEMA, with the U.S. Corps of Engineers, you have to be registered in SAM. The first step to creating a registration is you have to create a login. Login.gov account, you need to go to login.gov, and this is a one-time setup, and you'll use the same login information for both login.gov and SAM.gov. Login.gov also gives you access to other platforms in the federal market space. It's essential that you have a working phone number, either mobile or landline, because you'll receive a security code for login every time you log in. Every time you log in. So once you have your login.gov account, you're going to go ahead and create an individual account on SAM.gov using those same login credentials. So when you go to SAM.gov, you're going to click in Sign In. When you hit sign in, it's going to ask for your login.gov account credentials. And that's what you're going to use to create an account on SAM. From there, you're going to validate your business information to get your UEI. You're still not fully registered on SAM once you go and validate your business. Please keep in mind before you do your validation, there are key things you need to know. Your Secretary of State information must match exactly. And I mean from the dots to the slash to the space, it must be exact when you register on SAM to get your UEI. And you also must make sure that it is matching your IRS information that you have submitted. After that's validated, you're going to register your business for the CAGE code. Now, if you have questions, you can always go to the help desk and ask, get some more information. They also have extensive step-by-step process on the website to explain it. Once you get your UEI, which is your ID assigned to your company, that means that the government says you are a valid company. You need to have a couple things to complete your registration for your CAGE code. Your CAGE code is what's going to determine whether or not it's going to give you the authorization to compete on bids. You're going to need your tax ID number, your banking information, your core company information, so your date of incorporation, your NAICS codes. There are a lot of assertions that you'll have to approve on. So one of the key tips that they're asking us to send to people that are registering on SAM is please try to get an additional account administrator in case you get locked out. All right, so let's talk about SAM.gov Disaster Response Registry. So as part of your SAM.gov registration, you have the option to join the Disaster Response Registry through the Assertions module. This registry is basically a list of contractors that the government can tap into during disaster recovery efforts like Hurricane Helene. It includes companies that provide services like debris removal, supplies distribution, security, whoever decided they wanted to be included in the list. How do you get added to the registry? It's straightforward. While completing your SAM.gov registration, you're going to simply select that option to join the Disaster Response Registry. And once you're registered and signed a CAGE code, your company will be officially listed. So keep in mind, however, keep some realistic expectations. Being added to the Disaster Response Registry, it does not mean that someone will contact you. It does not mean that you will get a contract. This is just part of the puzzle. So contractors, you need to make sure that you're actively monitoring procurement opportunities, keeping up your profile, engaging with officials so that you can communicate the services and products you offer. And if you want more details, there's going to be a link here so that you can understand more about the Disaster Response Registry. This is what it looks like, basically. This is an older version screen, but it's you're clicking registration, I want to be included. All right, so who's involved? So when it comes to disaster response and recovery, there are some key federal agencies. There's FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management System, which leads the federal response for disasters, and they oversee the recovery efforts. Then there's the Small Business Administration. They're heavily involved. They're particularly in supporting small businesses as they recover from the impact, including survivors and homeowners. And then there is the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Well, these are the main agencies typically that contractors are going to interact with on recovery. It's important that you know that there are other federal agencies that often contribute to disaster recovery in different ways. So interactions, federal level, they lead the strategic response and provide major resources and coordination. So the federal government is looking at all the states that have been affected. The state level manages and coordinates the response specific to the state needs and the localities as a whole. So there's no border, they're just looking at the state level. Then the local level is the first responders that are at the incident. They are vital for the initial recovery and for the detailed assessment. So you got to think about, where do I fall in that area? Now, the next couple of slides are directly from FEMA, and I wanted to share them because you need to think about them in terms of, how do I compete? Where do I fit, right? So there's a framework that this framework is flexible for the purpose of having community lifelines. There's the emergency support functions, which I'll talk about a little bit more, which are very important that you have to keep in mind. For example, the ESFs might coordinate transportation, public health, communication support. They can be activated for both large and federal response and smaller and local incidents. Then there's the National Urban Search and Rescue Response System. And this is supposed to support and search and rescue operations in these areas. It's made up of specialized teams and local responders. Then you get down to the state emergency management agencies, which they're deployed alongside with FEMA to manage the resources during a disaster. And so they ensure that the local governments get the help that they need when they are responding to an emergency. So when I mentioned earlier that you need to know what is available, you need to know which states you're connecting with and what they're putting on their website and in regards to recovery. All right. So this is detailed. Now, the slides have links. For those that are on calls, the slides have links, and I will send them to you. But these links are important. So these are the emergency support functions. So each ESF, they represent a specific area of focus, from transportation to communication to like specialized functions like search and rescue and hazardous materials. So these functions are designed to bring together the federal agency and other partners to provide the support in the most critical areas during a disaster. For example, so let's look at ESF number 1, which is transportation resources. These ensure that people and supplies can move through the affected areas. And maybe number 8, which is public health and medical services, is to care for disaster survivors. Each ESF can be activated when needed, depending on the type of disaster. So whether it's a large-scale event like our hurricane or a localized incident. So these systems allow for a flexible and a scalable response. So why is this important? So understanding those ESFs is where you can understand where the federal government is supporting disaster recovery. And so each of those areas, like with transportation, logistics, these contractors play a key role in delivering these services. For example, if your company provides transportation or logistics services, you would be supporting ESF and ESF 1 and ESF 7. So by aligning your services with those ESFs, you'll be better set for opportunities. Let me explain. Each of these links go to more details about those ESFs. Read it, read the scope, read who the agencies that are involved, read who the agencies that are leading. If you know this information, then you know who you should be working with in order to provide the services or products that you're trying to do for the emergency management. Those ESFs also tie in, and I'll explain a little bit further when we talk about FEMA advanced contracts. But this is a structured way for the contractors to know where they fit in the response framework. You need to know, do you fit in these ESFs? And this is where you could provide services for FEMA. Now, these are the top commodities that are purchased during a disaster. You're talking about water, shredded bin, portable toilets, or rented, tarps, meals. So during a disaster, FEMA, they procure a wide variety of commodities, right, in the needs of the state and local government. So many of those items fall under what is called commonly used shelter items, CUSI, which are critical for setting up emergency shelters and maintaining essential services. So that is what's happening right now in Asheville area on the western side of North Carolina, that there are people have lost their homes, people have lost everything. So there are shelters being put up. These commodities can include the water, the blankets, the hygiene kits, generators, medical equipment, and some of the services may include security guard services, janitorial services, even temporary labor. So for contractors such as yourself, understanding what FEMA typically procures during a disaster is going to help you align your offerings for those high demand items and services. And so this will give you a chance to participate. All right, so the top services that are procured during disaster. Now I'm going to slow down on this and explain this a little bit more in detail, because a lot of the companies that have reached out to us are logistic companies. And so one of the programs that FEMA has is their transportation. It is the STOS program. They also have sheltering assistance services. The links are here again. So if you have a home or you have something that you want to offer up as a part of the service, you can sign up and you can provide your information as a company. There are also advanced contracts, which I will explain, that tie into the ESFs in a second. Then, you have the Army Corps of Engineers that also has debris removal, and they also have multiple different missions. Keep actively looking at their websites to see what they put up and change. Now, let's talk about that transportation program. Give me 1 second. I'm going to take a drink of water. All right. So FEMA works with private companies to provide essential transportation services that I mentioned through their standard tender of service. That's their STOS program. That program provides a wide range of transportation needs. So everything from truckloads to air freight to specialized services like ambulances, heavy haulers, rail, power only trucks, and even mobile homes, trailers also. So it's important that you know the potential of to be a transportation service provider. That's a TSP. You have to apply each year to remain eligible for contracts. So example, the next onboarding window opens on February 3rd of 2025 and it closes March 28th. So if you are a provider of any of those services, you need to be making sure that you put it on your calendar that you apply to be a part of this program. If your company provides those services, this is the area where you want to spend you want to make sure that you are in that pre-approved network. So if you're not currently part of the FEMA's STOS program, plain out, simple, you won't be able to compete for those transportation contracts during this ongoing disaster such as Hurricane Helene. Now, you won't be able to participate as the prime. Let's be clear. It relies on the pre-qualified contractors for response efforts. So right now, what you're seeing happening is all those companies already been pre-qualified. They are already in this program, providing those services. You can still position yourself for future opportunities by making sure that you get on the onboarding for next year. So even if you haven't contracted with FEMA before, you can start preparing now. And so by staying ahead of that application process and remaining eligible each year, you can ensure that your services, whatever it is that you provide, which is air freight, truckloads, they're considered during the next critical disaster response, because I have a feeling we'll have more. It's also important that you note that while FEMA contracts may be out of reach for this disaster for transportation, you may still have opportunities to provide those services to the NCDOT. And you may also be able to provide backup services as a sub for the companies that are already part of the TSP program. FEMA advanced contracts. So when I mentioned the ESFs earlier, so FEMA uses advanced contracts. So these are to ensure that the quick access to goods and services when a disaster occurs. Currently, a lot of the companies that are providing any kind of services related to those goods and services are on advanced contracts. So for contractors, that means that if your company is not already part of the FEMA's advanced contract system, you're going to miss out on immediate opportunities as a prime. So this is why it's crucial to compete for these contracts before the disasters happen. If you're doing this now, you're late. You're doing it late. You need to have done it months ago. So holding an advanced contract, it means that your business is pre-approved to provide essential services when FEMA needs to call on you when a disaster strikes. So if you're interested in searching the current list of the advanced contracts, you need to go ahead and click that link on this when I send it to you, and pay attention to what companies have those advanced contracts that you can provide services for. Why? Number one, you want to know When does it expire? When do their contracts expire? If you are a company that could possibly do it and bid for it, you want to know so that you can bid for it and be a part of that list. Second, you want to know who those contractors are, because if they are needing subs, you can reach out directly to them and provide your services to them so that you can participate in whatever recovery efforts they already are a part of. All right, so FEMA tips. So there is an industry liaison program. So you probably got a call or someone told you you got to get registered with FEMA in order to provide anything. Number one, you have to re-register on SAM. That's the first thing. So FEMA's industry liaison program is their gateway for looking for suppliers to do business with FEMA. So what you can do is you can go and submit your vendor profile form. You're going to provide FEMA with detailed information about your company, your capabilities, and your services. This is going to help them connect with you when the right program offices need to review or look for those services. It's important to understand that submitting your profile is voluntary. You don't have to do it. You can still stay on the disaster registry list, but it doesn't guarantee you're placed as a preferred vendor list or get a contract or a meeting with the FEMA representative. There are benefits around it because it provides essential business information. So if you're a part of their vendor profile, the industry liaison program, you're going to get information sent to you. You're going to know what's happening. You're going to know about their industry days. You're going to know about the meetings that they have. You'll be able to facilitate a vendor presentation meeting. That this allows you to, it's a vital step. So it's going to help you particularly be prepared to provide services for them. So additionally, we will be hosting an upcoming webinar with FEMA. We're going to outline specific contracting opportunities related to disaster recovery when they come out. When they really start to pull out right now, you'll get more information based on you letting us know that you want us to contact you after. So all attendees of today's webinar will be notified. In the meantime, you can visit FEMA's Doing Business with FEMA page, and you can contact the Industry Liaison Program for more information. All right, so where are these contracts, right? So where are how do I know what's coming up? So for contractors, you got to stay on top of the potential opportunities. You have to be in the know. You can't wait for people to send you things. You got to know what's going on. So the couple of ways that there are key resources. SAM.gov. I know many of you like, yeah, I look at SAM, I can't find anything. So it's a primary portal for anything over 25,000 where vendors can view all federal procurement opportunities. So if your business wants to secure contracts with the federal agencies, this is the first place you want to visit regularly, not once in a while, regularly. So one of the things you're going to want to search in the contracting opportunities is words like hurricane, disaster, North Carolina, the other states, recovery. These are the words that you want to use when you're doing a search and contracting opportunities. You want to respond to the sources sought. You want to review who won an award with the work you may be able to sub on. That is all listed on SAM. So please make sure that you're making a regular habit to look for it. There is the Unison Marketplace. This is a platform where some of the federal and commercial buyers post their needs. So you can go and register. You need a UEI to get an account and be able to submit bids and be a seller. I recommend you do that if you have a SAM registration. There's also the acquisition planning forecast system for the DHS, which is pretty robust. You can monitor this site so you can see what contracts are coming down the pipeline. Subcontracting is another critical path for you as a contractor in the federal contracting market space. So you, by identifying the businesses that have prime contracts, you can pursue those subcontracting opportunities. So who's won those contracts? Remember I mentioned in SAM that you can go online and see who won an award. Who are they? Know who they are. And here I want to push, there are multiple services that are provided by different programs for getting bid matching system. On the call, we have NCMBC, which has a bid, matchforce.org. If you guys can put that in the chat so that people can access it. That is a bid matching system that you can get information about what opportunities are available. Take advantage of that. So that you can know what is happening. You can't participate if you don't know what is happening. All right, so what is your role as a contractor? So when we think about the role of contractors in disasters, it's important that you recognize that you have to have the value of speed, expertise, and resourcefulness. As contractors, you're expected to respond quickly to the government requests and the urgent situations that come up. So whether it's for emergency repairs, debris removal, or supplying essential goods. But being fast isn't enough. You contractors, you must have some expertise in it. This means you might have to need certifications or skills, past performance. So ensure that your company is capable of handling disaster recovery projects. You need to be resourceful is another key aspect, meaning that you need to be adaptable. You need to be able to solve problems as they come up, whether it's an emergency response or longer term recovery efforts. You have to have readiness to act, and your qualifications and problem solving skills, all those are important. So when we talk about disaster contracting needs, there are two categories. So you have the emergency response, which are like contracts for immediate services like debris removal, but then there's also recovery and rebuilding. And we're not there yet. Reminding again that North Carolina is not at the recovery and rebuilding yet, but we will be soon, and you need to be prepared. So the bottom line is that as contractors that want to succeed in disaster recovery, you need to be well prepared, well connected, and ready to act. All right, so let's talk about everything I covered, because that was a lot of information. So in disaster contracting, it's not about just being reactive. You have to have a pre-disaster planning and preparation. So here are some key things you need to get done. If you're joining me on this call, these are the things I want to make sure you get done if you haven't gotten them done. You need to register on the state procurement sites as a vendor. Every state that's been affected or that could possibly be affected in the future. So right now you're looking at about 5 states, which is Tennessee, again, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. But there are other states that are affected normally by these disasters. You want to look at Texas, California, upper Northeast, upper Northwest. Go ahead and make it an effort to register as a vendor for those states now. Don't wait, do it now. Complete a vendor profile for, you got to be registered on SAM before you do a completion of the vendor profile. If you are not registered on SAM, please get registered on SAM. As I mentioned, this was supposed to be about SAM today, but we're going to do that in 2 weeks if you want to join us and learn more information about it. You need to complete those vendor profiles. There are 2 areas. Those links will be in the slides. You'll need to complete the vendor profile for FEMA and for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. They also have a registration system so that they can find you much more easier and look at your capabilities. You want to review opportunities. As I mentioned, connect with those bidding systems there are a lot of free services. If you are an Empower to Grow program, if you are an 8A company, you have those bid systems that are provided through the SBA. Please use them, get up to date about what's coming through. We also have them in our program, so you're welcome to reach out to us. Prepare a clear message. Right now, I want you to consider that everybody that you're contacting to ask if there are opportunities may be dealing with their own issues personally. They may have lost their home. They may have families. I want you to treat everybody thoughtfully. Be kind, be patient. Make sure that you have a clear message. My name is John Smith. These are the services I provide. I know that right now you're dealing with these issues, but when you start to rebuild, I'm here for you, and I will be in contact with you. Be thoughtful, please. Yeah, and we have one of our persons in our one of my staff that is in Maggie Valley and has been hit really hard. So I want you to be very mindful of how you connect with the western side of the state. Build relationships. So, start establishing those connections with those agencies, with FEMA, with all the emergency management programs in the state that you're going to register as a vendor for. Create a response team. What does that mean? So make sure that you have a team that can act quickly. Make sure you have documents ready. You make sure you have references if you need those for past performance. Have your things already set to go, so when that is coming down the pipeline, you're ready to bid. Stay ready. Don't have to get ready. Stay ready. So ask for help. That is the main thing that we're trying to give you here today. There's a lot of resources that are out there to assist you to get through this process. Who are they? So we have the SBDC. It's a national network and it's a partner program of the SBA. In North Carolina, we are the SBTDC. There are a few of us across the country that have T's because we have a tech commercialization program that is very excellent. So they are doing a webinar later this month on equity and funding. So check that out if you want to learn more information about that. But we are in every single state. We are here to assist you through your business, whether it's to grow your business, start your business, or just survive your business. There are also Apex accelerators. If you are coming in from another state, there is an Apex accelerator in your state. There is not an Apex accelerator in North Carolina. And I say yet, you're welcome to call the DOD and ask them when that's going to happen. But anyway, as of right now, please connect with your Apex accelerators. They are the lifelines. They are connected to immediate information that's coming down from most of the government regarding government contracting. So they are a good resource. Please connect with them. In North Carolina, we are lucky. We have the North Carolina Military Business Center. They are there to help you, to guide you through business opportunities, business development. They also have some of the best events in the state regarding government contracting. Please go to their link the link on this website goes directly to their hurricane information, but please go through their website and look at the events that they have available. The MBDA is here in North Carolina, and you also have the National Minority Supplier Development Council. Now, these are resources that help you as a contractor to be able to bid on government contracts. There are multiple other resources that are available at the state level, at the local level. Please just get informed and know, but these are the main ones that I'm providing you here. Who are we? So we're the Government Contracting Assistance Program. We are a specialty service of the SBTDC. We work with more mature companies through capture management, contract performance, strategic planning. We're basically here to align your business model with your government contracting stream of revenue. Now, keep in mind that because we do not have an Apex accelerator in our state, we're doing it all for now. We are very eager to have them in the state so that we can hand a lot of the work to them. So in the meantime, and I know NCMBC is also feeling that pain. So definitely come to us if you need any help or have some questions about government contracting. All right, so there is a survey that we will send out on the link, and if my team can put these links into the chat. I'm sorry. Here's why I want you to do the survey. So I want to be able to manage how we send out the information to everyone. We had over 300 people register for this Zoom webinar. So what we want to send to you are updated slides because some information may need to be updated. We want to send you some tools and some workbooks. We want to send you an updated contact list based on the industries that you're in. and then update it on the upcoming events that'll come when we start the rebuilding process. So what should you be doing right now? Back where I go back to the checklist. What should you be doing right now? All this is what you should be completing if you want to bid on contracts regarding to the rebuilding of in these states from Hurricane Helene.